All it took was 9 seconds. 9 seconds into the Team Canada versus Team USA game during the Four Nations face-off, and we saw a whopping 3 fights go down, and the chippiness was at an all-time high the NHL hasn't seen in decades. I think we expected this rivalry game to be some great stuff, but I don't think we all expected this to happen in this game. It's not even the finals yet, and we already have an insane game like this one. But let's take a game level and what the players were actually thinking during all of this. Well, Matthew Tkachuk on Team USA said after the game that they needed a message. And while the crowd that already wasn't too fond of the USA team was fired up when this message was sent, when Matthew Tkachuk and Brandon Hagel would drop the gloves for the first fight of the night. Now I think what's even crazier is that this first fight was also a Florida duel, as Hagel is on the Lightning and Tkachuk is on the Panthers, and we all know how that rivalry goes. It's insane. This would be the fastest fight to start an international NHL game in history, where it would break the previous record of 20 seconds in the 1996 World Cup of Hockey. In this game, where there would be 2 fights, where Keith Tkachuk would fight Claude Lemieux, and where Bill Guerin would fight Keith Primo. Although it's great the family history of the Tkachuks fighting in best on best tournaments goes a long way, Matthew Tkachuk stated his father had no part in the influence for the fighting. But going back to the game, after the first fight between Tkachuk and Hagel, we got a second fight that of course this time involved Brady Tkachuk, and he would fight Sam Bennett, and this would be an even crazier tilt. But of course the fun doesn't end there, as JT Miller, after a scrum in front of the net, would drop the gloves just a few seconds later and would fight Colton Parayko. Brady Tkachuk had stated post-game that there was a group chat going on how this was going to actually happen. I'm assuming it wasn't between like Team Canada and Team USA players, but who knows, maybe it was. Maybe this whole thing was orchestrated, but honestly I don't think there was. But there hasn't been a fight in an international NHL tournament since the 2004 World Cup of Hockey, and it had been almost a decade since the last best on best tournament, so it's no secret that this was going to be an insane game. Canada ended up getting a power play after the 3 fights were all over, and they were not able to capitalize. But just a few minutes later, with a little less than 15 minutes to go in the first period, it's Connor McDavid who is blazing in with incredible speed and beats Connor Hellebuck top cheese and gets the 1-0 lead for Team Canada, and this Bell Center is going crazy. Now a little less than 5 minutes later, with some more pressure by the US, Canada was having a hard time recording shots in this one, and with Team USA raining all of the pressure, it's Jake Gensel with a goal that was honestly a pretty weak shot, and it's definitely going to be one that Binnington is going to want back. And well, the game would remain deadlocked after that, and we wouldn't see much from either team, but there would be a lot of chances. But a dreadful turnover by Crosby with at the worst time, and it's Dylan Larkin who capitalized off a nice wrister that would give Team USA a 2-1 lead in the second period. And yeah, it's rough. Team USA was playing a defensive clinic, and Team Canada honestly just had no response. But obviously with this 2-1 lead, Canada needed to respond fast, but unfortunately for Canada, they just weren't able to. And it would be Jake Gensel again who would pot the game winner to secure a spot in the championship game on Thursday. Now, do I think the 3 fights in the beginning of the game changed the course of the game entirely? Well, no, since I think the fights were too early in the game to really decide that, but I definitely think they did set the tone for an even tighter matchup. Now, what would be crazy is that if Team Canada is able to survive and actually make it to the finals, it would be a Team USA and Team Canada rematch in the finals, and if this happens, tonight might only be the teaser for what would actually happen in a USA versus Canada rematch. However, if something like this were to happen, is Matthew Tkachuk going to be able to play again? I mean, he did state in interviews that there should be no concern for his injury, but that could just be being said to divert attention away from him, so that if he does end up playing, nobody ends up targeting Tkachuk. If it really is nothing, then this is great for the US, but if there is something wrong with Tkachuk, it might lead to some problems for the US. But with a team that also has Brady Tkachuk and a lot of other chippy stars, I suspect they will be fine. Now for Canada, the big piece they didn't have tonight is Cale Makar, and as he was out with sickness, this left Canada with no choice but to put Thomas Harley wholeheartedly in. Unfortunately for Canada, this just wouldn't be enough to lift them past the US. And with Canada playing Finland on Monday, they're going to need to be at their best if they want to move on to the finals. However, since every team besides the US is tied at 2 points, multiple things can actually happen here. If Team Canada wins the game against Finland in regulation, then they have a chance to move on to the finals and rematch the US. However, if Sweden wins their game in regulation against the US, then there will be a two-way tie. In the four-nation rulebook, it is stated that if there is a two-way tie, it'll be decided in a head-on-head matchup for the decider. This would be the craziest outcome, but if any team wants to have the best chance of going to the finals, then even overtime wins aren't off the table, as overtime wins are only worth 2 points, and yeah, if Canada and Sweden win in overtime, then the same tiebreaker scenario would happen, which would just make this Four Nations face-off tournament even crazier. But hey, give me your thoughts down in the comments below. Do you believe that there will be a two-way tie between Canada, Sweden, or even anybody else? Let me know in the comments below, and I'll see you all in the next one. Peace.